A new survey of so-called millennials says they want everything from government, they don't want to pay for it, they want government to leave them alone, and they don't trust Republicans or Democrats. Their parents seem so reasonable. How did they get so messed up? I'm PJTV's Scott Ott, joined now by Stephen Green and Bill Whittle. Men, in the first episode of our three-part trifecta called The Last American Generation, we looked at the results of a new Reason Foundation survey of 18 to 29-year-olds. Predictably, it showed majorities backing abortion, same-sex marriage, legal marijuana, health care for all, and lots of spending on roads, bridges, and the poor. They want lower taxes, except on the rich, but their passion for government spending and universal health care kind of cools a bit when you ask them to pay for it. They also told the government, hands off my big gulp, but go ahead and bust that guy for snorting coke. Well, Bill Whittle, there's more subtlety than this, obviously, in Reason's 105-page survey report, and we can post a link here below. But let me ask you, does this harmonic convergence of the ideas of the left and right in this generation represent a hopeful evolution toward less divisive public discourse? Or have both sides failed to convey a consistent ideology worthy of embracing whole hog?
I think that would be about the only source of optimism I would see in the whole thing, Scott, not just the report, but in the state of the country and the state of the generation, would simply be to say that those numbers are what they are. They're not great numbers, but they're what they are, without any principled advocacy of conservative ideas. And frankly, if they're voting 2-to-1 as self-identifying as Democrats, and let's just call ourselves libertarians and be done with it, it's got a nice, fresh, brand new ring to it. And if the liberals can reinvent what they call themselves every 20 years, we ought to be able to do it every 100 or so. With that said, it's very hard to understand why they would identify as Republicans. I don't certainly think I would have if I was a millennial. I mean, really, what we've given them for 15, 20, 30 years now, really certainly since Reagan, and even Reagan had some real roughness around the edges here, is there's the party of big government, and then there's the party of somewhat less big government. And when those are their choices, why would they take the new Koch position? I think the thing that's most striking about these results is that there is a certain inclination to want government off their backs. There's a certain inclination to not want to part with their own money. These are natural human expressions for freedom and wanting to be able to keep the rewards of your own sweat. And if somebody would just have the common sense to get in front of people and put it in terms that are just that simple, we'd be looking at majorities for the rest of time. It's a total failure of the Republican leadership that these numbers are as skewed as they are, because what these millennials have in front of them is the wreckage of the progressive movement. They say they don't want to pay for health care. Big surprise, guys, you've already paid for health care. You've already paid for it. You've already paid for our health care, for the health care of the boomers and Gen X's and Gen Ys. You've already paid for it, and you'll continue to pay for it. Once this begins to fully dawn on them, they'll go full conservative on you, and you should never go full conservative. But nevertheless, that's what they're going to do.
Well, Stephen Green, millennials are almost twice as likely to identify as Democrats than as Republicans, and 53% said that they would vote for Hillary Clinton for president, which is way out in front of the top Republican, Senator Rand Paul. Is the battle over, and have the Democrats captured the hearts and minds of this generation?
No, whoa. 50, when a popular Democratic candidate with huge name recognition can't get more than 53% of the youth vote, they're sunk. Let's get that clear right now. Democrats need to pull in 55, 60, 65% of the youth vote in order to have a convincing victory. So let's look at that number and smile. The other thing you have to remember is that political parties, they aren't monolithic entities. They're made up of coalitions, and the parts are always shifting and changing, not just between parties, but sizes. Look, the Reagan coalition of 1980 would be a loser in 2016. There aren't any Reagan Democrats left to pull away, or at least not enough of them to pull away to win, because big labor is tiny labor now, unless you're talking about the public sector unions who can't leave the Democratic Party. They are the Democratic Party. But there are opportunities here, big opportunities here, to peel voters off of the Democrat coalition. We're looking right now at the fracturing of the black vote, of the African-American vote, as President Obama seems ready to just give amnesty to 500,000 Latinos who are going to drive wages down and increase black unemployment, which is already at something like 11%. The Democrats are busy screwing over members of their own coalition, because that's what happens when you govern with a huge coalition like this. Somebody's going to have to pay, and that is how you peel voters away.
Well, you know, taking your social views from the left and your fiscal views from the right doesn't mean that you're civil, eclectic, or broad-minded. It means you really don't understand what you believe or why. But then neither do the leaders of the major parties or most of their candidates. It's becoming more difficult to determine whether any principles lie behind their fundraising goals and trivial advertising, which is why the so-called Tea Party and the little L libertarians are so terrifying to the establishment on the left and the right. There's nothing more frightening to a politician, party boss, or consultant than a man who knows what he believes and is willing to vote that way. Polls can be useful, but principled leaders will look at the results of this millennial survey and realize it simply means that they have some work to do, as Steve suggests. They'll find ways to communicate, starting where the voters are, and to lead them toward a coherent view of liberty and equal justice under law. But the principled leader never bends the knee, nor the principle, to the God of public opinion. He'll speak truth, act accordingly, bear the consequences, and enjoy the sleep of the righteous. For Bill Whittle, Stephen Green, and the entire Trifecta crew at PJTV.com, I'm Scott Ott.